has a follicular tag, of healthy cells with DNA, useful DNA, that can be used to test and find the one who actually the hair belongs to. The catagen phase, as mentioned, the hair is sort of falling out, it's halfway falling out, and the hair root kind of gets pushed out, but not completely. It's still somewhat attached. Telogen hair is when it's completely detached, and hair can't grow anymore. At least not this hair, as you can see here. Oops. Yeah. This hair is not growing anymore. It's pretty much dead. It's just going to be squeezed out, but new hair can grow underneath it, though. The root gets pushed out, and the hair falls out, as we saw from the picture. So we find a hair. We examine it under a microscope. I mean, you're not going to be looking at it with your eye. It's really small. You know that. You distinguish between human hair and animal hair. That's one of the first things you want to do. And if there's an animal involved in the crime, and like pit bull attacks or who knows what, you can, or maybe the hair, you might think it's a human, and it's really, there's a pet around, and the hair comes from the pet. You can find the species of animal, and that again might help give information about the crime, whether an animal is involved. However, if finding out exactly which animal from a hair, it takes someone who's really experienced with animal hairs and how to look at all the medulla and the rest of it. It can be done. It just takes a professional. So we're not going to deal with that too much. The most common and the most important part of hair as relates to crime is to find a way to correlate a human hair found at the crime scene to the hair of a suspect. So how do we go about doing that? Well, let's talk about the difficulties of it. Hair does change. Remember when we said about fingerprints don't change? It makes it very valuable as evidence. Well, hairs do change. People do get gray hair and they get white hair. So they change. So again, we might actually find that, hair that we find at the crime scene, let's say a couple of years later, might not at all be related to the suspect whose hair changed color within that time. I've actually heard stories of people changing hair color in, even in weeks and months. This is rare, but again, the fact is people do change hair color as they get older due to age. Not only that, one person can have a gray hair and a black hair, coexisting on their head. I mean, people don't only have one-tone hair. In fact, there was someone who was was made fun of by being called, "Hey, two-tone," because his hair, he had different colored hair. He had red, brown hairs and black hairs. Anyway, so that's another problem. You find a red hair, you don't know who it is. It might be the guy with both the red and the black, or the guy with only the black. Well, whatever it is. So that's another difficulty. You also have to know where this hair came from. Did it come from the armpit? Did it come from the head? So we really want to know that too. And one person can produce two different kinds of hair. The fact is that ordinary hair, without the DNA that comes from the root of the hair, sometimes it comes from the cells that are found in the root of the hair, just the hair is probably not, it does not provide individual characteristic by itself. It should not be enough to prove guilt or innocence by itself. It should be augmented by DNA analysis or some other evidence. Conclusions based only on hair is considered presumptive. It's not considered conclusive evidence. It should not be considered conclusive evidence. Again, it might provide a lot of high probability, and when connected with other aspects of the case, it might make it very definite, but hair alone is not really conclusive. So what do we get from hair? First of all, we look at the color. Not only, if it's black, we can actually exclude a person who has blonde hair. You can say that, well, they didn't provide this hair. Let's say people in the house had black hair, and there was a crime, and there was blonde hair. Now we might enable us to say that it wasn't someone in the family that committed the crime. It was somebody else with a blonde hair. Again, we can use the color to give us more information about the case. We'd also know whether the hair is dyed or bleached. We find a hair that's like, let's say whitish on the outside and dark on whitish on the tip and dark near the bottom, near the root. We can say it's bleached, and we can look for people whose hair was bleached and connect them to the hair that was found. Because not everyone bleaches their hair. So anyway, we can actually tell something just by the color. We can also tell how much time passed, for example. Hair grows about 1 centimeter per month, 1.5 centimeters per month, something like that. We can, more or less how fast it grows. Yes, it grows faster with different people, with different who are healthier or not as healthy, but basically 1 or 1.5 centimeters per month. So we can tell, let's say, the time between the hair was bleached and dyed from how many centimeters of hair. If it grows 1 centimeter per month, and we find that it's 3 centimeters past the dye part, well, we know that, we'll take a look at who's been bleaching their hair 3 months ago. And maybe we can connect that to the hair that was, let's say, found at the crime scene. It's not just being dyed, it's also be a time the hair was weak due to disease. And in fact, drugs actually show up in the hair. So we can use this hair to find out when they were taking drugs. Also, we can use the existence of nits. Those are lice eggs, or fungal growths. If we can find a suspect who has these nits or fungal growths, again, we can connect them. Again, you don't only have one person in the world that has nits and fungal growths. There may be more. But again, this provides some connection. It is class evidence, not characteristic, not individual. It's a class characteristic, not an individual characteristic. But again, it does provide a lot of probability between the suspect and the hair at the crime scene. Also, the hair can tell us the bodily source. Like scalp, we know the scalp hairs usually have a uniform width. Beard hair is more coarse, it's more thick. Armpit hair is shorter and more curly. And other hair is also shorter and more curly. So if we see, let's say, beard hair, then again, that tells a little bit about the crime. Maybe his beard was yanked. Also, if the person was clean shaven and we see beard hairs, well, that person probably wasn't him. We can also tell a little bit of racial origin. We mentioned that the Mongoloid people have more medulla, that it's more visible, it's easier to see, it's less fragmented. Also, Negroid hair is apparently more curly and is denser, and the pigmentation is uneven. You don't have like a single black. Let's say it's black. You don't see the black hair uniform from the root. It's more like blotches of black, which turn out to be black when the eye sees it, but on a microscope, it's uneven. Also more dense, I guess, it's blacker. Caucasian is like more uniform black, I guess. Or Caucasian hair is also has a more rounded cross section. Negroid hair is a little bit elongated. But as mentioned before, race is fluid. There is intermarriage between different races, so you do have some kind of a spectrum of it. You can't always guarantee that if it's, let's say, curly and more dense, it's definitely Negroid. These are generalizations. They provide a little bit more information, but they are not certainly not conclusive as to the race of the person who had the hair. Maybe a professional might be able to do this, but tell the race. But we're not gonna be dealing with that. Also, if it's hair from a baby, it's finer and it's shorter. I mean, how long do babies stay babies? 3 years, or I don't know how many years you consider a baby. So how long can hair grow in just 3 years? So again, it's usually shorter, and it's also more fine, more thin. So we can tell if the hair comes from a baby. We can sometimes tell if the hair is forcibly removed.